signed up to provide comment as stipulated in policy 903. When your name is called, please approach the podium and state your name, confirm you are a resident or taxpayer in the district, and the topic of discussion for the record. Please direct your comments to the board as a whole, not to an individual, and we ask that you limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. Privilege to speak may be interrupted, revoked, or a recess of the meeting may be called by the chair if the speaker does not observe reasonable decorum and orderly conduct. Thank you. First speaker is Suzanne Johnson.
My name is Suzanne Johnson. I have a child in the district, and I'm a resident taxpayer voter. This school board and administration do not adhere to your own policies. For over a year, you as a full board and an administration have permitted a school board member to use her position to not only harass me, but several community members have shared with me that she has also harassed their families through her position here and in youth sports. And now I'm seeing a right to know appeal from a former employee whose resignation was approved at the November meeting. All this is public information. And the right to know, it looks like the district failed to intervene on behalf of the former employee's child, whose account was hacked. And things must have gotten pretty intolerable if it led to this employee resigning. The parallels with my situation are impossible to ignore when there are attempted hacks to my own financial and other accounts after I reported copyright violations for my YouTube channel. Further, the superintendent has also denied my request to limit this school board member's access to restricted areas when my child is competing in LASD sports. There have been defamatory innuendo directed at innocent people recording meetings, yet school leaders have refused to intervene on behalf of my child and this former employee's child. And your first stock and leader lawyer is one that actually pled guilty to child pornography. So if we're interested in the students, let's start here. Regarding the ongoing debate about recording meetings, Dr. Mitchell's repeated statements about negative YouTube videos and social media violates our First Amendment rights to free speech, free press, and the right to petition the government, including school boards, for a redress of grievances. School board members and the superintendent need to stop participating in attempts to limit these First Amendment rights. As public officials, you are subject to redress of grievances. If you are embarrassed about your negative or demeaning videos of what you actually did or said in a publicly funded meeting space, then change your behavior. Posting videos of what actually occurred and people's opinions about what occurred is protected by the First Amendment. Further, viewpoint discrimination from this school board and leaders could be quite costly to the district. There was a viewpoint discrimination lawsuit, Marshall versus Amuso, where after almost a year of litigation, the Pennsbury School Board had to agree to settle the lawsuit by paying $300,000 in attorney fees and nominal damages. I would again remind you that LASD officials would be more effective by controlling your own behavior and conduct instead of focusing on attempts to control the public. You have failed to hold each other accountable, and now it's time for the voters to make the change, starting with the one that has harassed me and others throughout this community. It's beyond time for Janelle to go.
I'd ask, as you've asked other people in the public.
Oh, I get 5 says, Carl said.
To not address individual members of the
Oh,
board.
Carl said we get 5 names.
Direct. Well, Carl is not the chair of this meeting.
Oh, well.
As we say at the beginning, please address your comments to the board.
Oh, I don't know which policies you enforce and which ones you don't.
You are out of order.
Okay, I'm just confused about what you're. I said I'm confused about what you enforce and you don't, because it's called viewpoint discrimination. It is called viewpoint discrimination when you gavel me and not Mr. Wrestler and not Mrs. Griffin.
Ma'am, you are out of order.
Good. And so is everyone else, Ben.
Ma'am, if you continue, you will be asked
Okay, great.
to leave.
Just making my point.
That's enough.
Mm-hmm.
Dwayne Sullivan.
Good evening to the board. I want to address one thing first here. Multiple attempts have been made by the president of this board to silence me. I'm here to say this is a blatant disregard of my First Amendment rights as well as a blatant disregard for the Pennsylvania Sunshine Act. In a recent court case, and I'm going to give it to you specifically so you all don't get sued, because you're going to get sued, Marshall v. Amusa, case number 21-4336 in the Eastern District of Pennsylvania under Judge Gene Prater. Judge Prater addressed this issue of free speech at this podium when he had an overzealous Amuso lawyer telling people to shut up. Okay, during the public comment at the school board meeting, Judge Prater ruled on November 12, 2021, that the Pennsbury School District could not restrict speech deemed personally directed, abusive, irrelevant, offensive, otherwise inappropriate, or personal attacks, therefore restricting my speech. Others at this podium will not be tolerated. By the way, this ended up costing the Pennsbury School District over $300,000, which you're all going to be responsible for if you keep shutting people up. This is the First Amendment right to speak here. People have called my name out 5,000 times, and I say that's okay, because it's legal, okay? It's legal. I'm not calling them out for that, okay? I'm not, because I'm a public official. If they want to call my name out 8 times in 3 minutes, it is what it is. I'm a public official. A cost I believe that this district should avoid. It's worth it. Stop my preach. I say not. On another note, at a recent meeting, I was attacked. It was planned. That I do know. 2 people don't come up and attack me like they did if it wasn't planned. But I will tell you this. Why I'm getting attacked? You all were sitting on a little secret that you're hiding about Janelle Ressler. You're hiding it. You're using a solicitor to represent her. I'm tired of this. Y'all were slamming me as a board member who's sitting here minding my own business. You had a Mickey Mouse come up here and slam me, and knowing his wife is under investigation, under allegations, period. This is crazy. I'm tired of it. I'm fed up with it.
Excuse me, hold on one second. Your time has been stopped.
Tim? Let's go ahead.
I wonder why we haven't seen those solicitor bills since November.
I know. That's why we haven't seen them since November.
Yeah.
Or the solicitor statements, the reports.
Yeah. So now who's using the solicitor for their own personal purposes?
No, they want to attack me and then hide everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Caution you about speaking confidential or privileged information, as that might carry individual consequences.
There's no confidential.
Liability.
There is none.
Excuse me. With that being said, your time is now back.
First off, it's not confidential. And I'm going to tell you why. Because it's been spoken by this person to other people. It's out. It's time to stop hiding it. It's time. There's several people that have been spoken to. So it's not confidential anymore, as you want to call it. So you all need to deal with it and stop hiding it. You just need to stop hiding it. I spoke nothing here tonight that wasn't told to 2 other people way before I said anything. So y'all just keep hiding it. But you keep blowing this person off. And this person's pissed. Not only for herself, but her child. And I can't blame her. I stand up here now because I care about her, her family, and her children. That's what I care about. And I'm tired of this district bullying people, harassing people, and then telling them they do not have a leg to stand on. Oh, they're not a protected class. That's ridiculous. I've been harassed. Fred Miller's been harassed. There's been other people been harassed, and we're tired of it. And it's been one person the whole time. This whole time, including this person who went to a friend of mine's house and said I was dangerous. A friend of mine. This has got to stop. I'm tired of this. You all are protecting this person, and you need to stop. Because the truth is the truth. I'm tired of being bullied. I'm tired of being harassed. I'm tired of being lied about. And I'm drawing a line today. This is it. You're going to stop it. Because you all don't start pointing fingers at me when you all have things in your closet. I'm tired of hearing it. And that's how I feel about it. And you don't need to know. I'm done with it. Y'all try to make a fool out of me at the last meeting. You think people don't see that this is calculated? They do. I talked to them. They know that you all set it up. You got Carl sitting there shutting me up. So this person can go on a diatribe in new business when they were just told the meeting before by the solicitor it's not district business. Do not scold me on this. You were just told a meeting before last it was not district business. And Carl opened the floor up and let it be spoke. I spoke out, said it's not district business. He said, Chuck, you don't have the floor. No, I'm tired of it. I see what Carl's doing. He's allowing her to slander me in a meeting, knowing full well it's not district business. So it needs to stop. I'm done. I've had enough of it. I'm not going to be attacked by this or a spouse or anybody else or crazy lady who's been stalking me since 2022, who I have a cease and desist against. She comes here and I have a cease and desist against her. So I'm tired of it. I'm done.
Your time has expired. Moving on. Dr. Barrington.
So good evening. Carrie, if you could, please. Thank you. So the purpose of the presentation this evening is to present an overview of the district comprehensive plan. It leads into a strategic roadmap for where we're going to go over the next 3 years. The time frame of this is from 2025 to 2028. And it helps guide our schools toward continuous improvement and some academic excellence over the next 3 years. The plan is a result of a lot of collaboration. We had a lot of educators, parents, board members, community members. We had some students on the committee. We met for about a year, maybe a little over a year, looked at a lot of data and determined the 4 goals that we would put into the comprehensive plan. It deals mostly with curriculum, instruction, assessment, and attendance, and those were the areas that were identified out of the strategic plan, the steering committee. So tonight, we're going to do an overview of the core components of the plan, discuss how it aligns with our district's mission and vision, and then we're going to highlight the 4 key goals with some of the action steps that we're going to take to move our district forward. So let us explore this plan, and first we're going to recognize some of the steering committee members who were on it. You'll notice there were district administrators. Dr. Mitzel was leading the steering committee at that time under his role. We had some board members that were present, a couple of students, community members, teachers, and then we also had a number of people who were in multiple roles. Like Mr. Moran is an administrator here, he is a parent in the district, and he's also a community member. Same with like Angie Bradner, she has a couple different roles in our community. So we tried to get people that would bring us a lot of different viewpoints and different lenses to look through. So I just want to take a minute to thank them for their contribution to this plan. So the first thing the committee did was spend a lot of time crafting the mission and the vision, which was already approved in a previous policy a few months ago. So the new mission is investing collaborative experiences that inspire and nurture personal growth. And then the vision that was determined by the committee and then voted on by the board was to build a solid foundation to prepare all students for life and career success. So then along with what we do is come up with like value statements. So what does our community believe in and hold to be true? And then these guiding statements and values help us in our decision-making process, hiring process, budgeting process, all of that. So when we go to make our decisions, these are the things that we're taking a look at. As we move forward, our commitment remains to ensuring that these guiding principles will shape the experiences for our students, our staff, and our community. So the first goal is district-wide. So the steering committee, again, identified 4 overarching goals. So 3 are focused on curriculum, instruction, and assessment, and then 1 is on attendance. And this one is district-wide, where we are looking to develop, and I believe you've heard this in the past, but we are going to revisit it a little bit, proficiency scales for every single course that we teach here at the high school, outside of AP, because that's pretty much dictated to us by the college board. So the proficiency scales are the state standards and eligible content, if it's a PSSA or Keystone tested subject. And then from that, you break that standard apart and you look at what are the foundational skills and knowledge that the kids have to know and be able to do to be successful in that curriculum area. And then also on the proficiency scales, what kind of resources are we going to use and what kind of assessment data are we going to collect from the students to inform our decision, our instructional decisions, and to see if they've met proficiency or if they need some academic interventions or enrichments. So at your place, I did put for your reference, this is just a template of a blank proficiency scale. So on it, we put the area, subject area, what the topic might be, the course standard, and then along the side, and then a timeline and the grade level. And then you would also see down the left-hand side, reference the standard from above, but also eligible content would be in there if it's a tested subject. And the eligible content is very specific to what students need to know for PSSAs and Keystones again. So then in the center, what does it mean to be proficient in that standard? So that is what should students, or what will still students need to know and be able to do based on that standard. And then what are some of the foundational skills that they need to know to be successful to reach that standard? So that's just a template for you to know this is what we are using across the district as we develop our courses, or develop our curriculum. So this is, in essence, the curriculum then. Okay? So I just wanted to explain that a little bit. So the first goal, as they're working through those proficiency scales, prioritizing their standards, looking at their eligible content, looking to differentiate their instruction for the students who are sitting in front of them, and then making sure that all of the assessments are aligned. So I'm just going to use Brian, even though he left. So Brian has twins, as most of you know. So if they're sitting in 2 separate ELA classrooms, what they might experience from the teacher may be a little different because there's an art to the teaching, but the science part of it means that we are using very similar teaching strategies. We are using very similar resources, and that we are taking a common assessment at the end, which is based on the standards. So if I'm sitting in a 7th grade ELA classroom and you're in a 7th grade ELA classroom, we should have the same assessments to make sure that we're all moving forward and what help we might need on those assessments or benchmarks. Does that make sense? So as they're developing that and moving forward, they'll design their proficiency scales. They will be looking at very targeted specific learning, incorporate the differentiated supervision or differentiated instructional practices to help kids meet their needs, and then designing those common assessments. If we don't have common assessments, it's really hard to gauge where all of our kids are in moving forward. So then the next goal, if you could go on to the next slide. This is going to look very similar, except that this is targeted more specific to grades 3 through 8, math and ELA. Again, developing those proficiency scales. 3 through 8, making sure they are aligning everything to the eligible content, that they are developing formative assessments along the way to track student learning and to make data-driven instructional decisions, and then also to be able to progress monitor. And so our plan, the roadmap for this is to get everything 100% aligned to eligible content by the end of 2028. And I would say that we have a large chunk of this already in the works, so to be moving forward. So they will continue to do that for each grade level, for each course in ELA and math, working on their formative assessments, differentiating their instruction, developing those common assessments to be able to then, you've heard Mrs. Golden reference the time that her teachers are spending together in that common planning. This is the type of data that they would take a look at and really auditing their assessments, auditing their instruction, and auditing their curriculum to make sure everything is 100% aligned. One other thing we had mentioned that we had brought a gentleman from PDE in to help our teachers with the SAS Standard Aligned System website. And one of the things that is on there are the release test items. So I've even witnessed this. I was doing observations last week, and a teacher was using a release test item. So the kids really get to see what the content looks like, the format of the testing, the format of the questioning, the difficulty level of the questioning. So having those released items and then being scored the same way that the state will score them gives them a really good feel of what it will be like in the testing environment. And again, it's all aligned to the standard, so I don't want to say we're teaching to the test. Well, we're teaching the standard that they're going to be tested on. And that is how we're held on our Future Ready. Why is that blank?
Here?
Oh, there you go. I'm like,
A
why is
spare
that blank?
slide.
That's okay. This is just, it's the same thing, but broken down into years. So year 1, establish proficiency scales and develop formative assessments for learning. And then in year 2, really start delving into those differentiated instruction and common assessments aligned to the standards. And then by the end of year 3, having everything 100% aligned. No.
There.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, it's like
Is it pausing? Okay. The last goal that was identified, we've started to see, and it seems to be a nationwide, unfortunately, a nationwide issue, and I've read many articles and different research on trying to combat it, is that attendance seems to be on a downward slide. Some grade levels are seeing it pick back up. I read an article the other day that was just released that, interestingly enough, kindergarten, 9th, and 12th grade are experiencing the highest rates of absenteeism. So when we get to the state level, though, when they start reporting it out on our Future Ready, the way they report it is chronic absenteeism. So it takes our students and the number of days that they've been enrolled in our district for that year, and it calculates if they've been absent 10% of the school year. If they've been absent 10% or more, they are considered chronically absent. So for us, this year we have 178 school days, so if a student misses 17.8 days of school, they're considered chronically absent. Next year, it's 17.6 based on the calendar right now. So we have already started discussions about how to recoup some of those lost absences and get our kids back into school. So we've been working with our with Sapphire, which is our student information system, to develop an early warning system. So it's a report that we can pull out that will show us if kids are at a high risk for being chronically absent, or at a moderate risk, or at a low risk. So we can start those early warning interventions pretty quickly. Develop more communications to go home to help our families with students who are unable to come to school, either for medical or some school refusal, things like that, so that we can help break down some of those barriers and get some resources to our families. And then really trying to, going back to the proficiency scales and differentiated instruction and stuff, trying to really do some engaging, student-centered instruction that really meets the kids' needs and engages them and builds that relationships with the teachers and wants kids to come into school every day. So those are part of the action steps that we have for attendance. And then just the breakdown of, again, a 3-year kind of implementation stage, developing the early warning system, increasing our communication with families, and then implementing some strategies to engage students in it, whether, maybe all of 7th grade has, I don't know why I'm picking on 7th grade tonight, but all of 7th grade maybe does a class-wide attendance competition or something, like this homeroom against this homeroom, to take a look at attendance, or 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. But really, certificates, anything to try to encourage kids to come back into the classroom and really work with developing some of those relationships so that they are welcomed and safe coming into the school. So overall comprehensive plan, just to summarize it a little bit for you, is develop the proficiency scales and the assessments, formative and common assessments. I didn't put benchmarks in here, but we'll still do our benchmarks with iReady. Implement our strategies, especially for differentiated supervision. I was very pleasantly surprised. I met with, not surprised, but very interested to hear. I met with a 2nd grade teacher the other week, and between using iReady and teacher resources, when she pulled her small groups, first of all, elementary teachers need to be praised beyond praise because they are beyond organized, but she pulled out this binder, and it was only for math, and she had her 3 different groups for every single lesson, and she was getting ready to go into geometry and knew exactly where each of her groups were starting. So when we talk about differentiated instruction, that's what we mean. Like, this group of kids was ready for this level of geometry. I think they were working on shapes and fractions, and then going into the next group of kids, and then the next group, but really meeting them at their level, grade level material, but at the area where they could really have an entry point into learning what that geometry standard was. So it was great just to see that. Continuing to monitor the progress of all of our kids, analyze that data, make sure we are making progress. If we're not, like, taking a very hard look at some of those root causes about why our kids are not progressing, and making sure that we are making timely changes on that with the information, the best information that we have. And then engaging our stakeholders and our communities and our families. That is our comp plan. I did also, at your place, give you a handout that details a lot of the information that we went over. The full plan will be on the website for review, for the public review. This PowerPoint will also go on the district website for review. And then it will sit for like 30 days before the final submittal to the state. Any questions?
I assume with the target year 1, that there's going to still be that, I know we've talked about year 2, I don't know if I have the right page or not, about the differentiated learning. That's going to be happening before, yeah, I mean, it's happening
It's
now.
happening now.
Yeah, okay.
But what I will say is that we need to find ways to increase it in every area, so that we are making sure kids are getting into the curriculum that they need to at the level they need to.
Right.
I met with a 6th grade teacher the other week, and her kids grew so much last year, but what she was surprised to find is that her higher achieving students did not grow as much. So for her differentiation is, I need to differentiate